Hey, everybody, and welcome to this episode 215 of the Thoughtium Navigating Now virtual roundtable series. I am Anthony Ewing, CEO, co-founder here at Thoughtium, and we are thrilled to be going live to you all, our community, our clients, our family, and friends on a week-by-week basis. And we're coming to you live here from new Thoughtium headquarters here in Chicago, continuing to just refine the level of production and experience that we're able to bring to you all on a week-to-week basis, so that we can provide you perspectives that matter most from leaders that are in the work, doing the work, sharpening their practitionership, getting better. And that's the conversation that we bring to you on a week-to-week basis. We particularly want to welcome our LinkedIn community. We go live to LinkedIn every Thursday. And this is something that we're really proud about, is that every Thursday we hit live, we bring leaders forward, we bring perspective. It is not scripted. There are no cue cards. So this conversation is about as real as they can come. And in this episode 215, we're really going to be exploring this idea of leading with purpose. We know that purpose is a concept that as leaders we are taught to bring forward in our style, and we're called to bring that out in others. But we're talking to a leader today who really leads with purpose on a day-to-day basis and has a lot of experience in helping others really bring their values and their purpose forward. And that is Loren Brockhouse. He is the CRO at BigHand. And Loren is going to be joining us for this conversation on episode 215. Loren, welcome to the table.
Thank you. I think glad to be here.
Yeah. So we met a couple weeks ago, and one of the things that really stuck out to me was that you had such a focus on leading with purpose. And I want to unpack that a little bit. How do you see that personally? How does that show up in your leadership style? And most importantly, how do you enable and inspire others to bring a certain sense of purpose and authenticity forward? But first and foremost, let's get to know you. Tell us a little bit about you, and maybe we'll stay outside of the realm of work. Tell us something about Loren, the human.
Well, I have a 32-year-old daughter and a 10-month-old son.
If that is not two ends of the spectrum, I don't know what is. Congratulations.
Thank you. I just realized my daughter's going to be upset with me.
Right? Yeah. We were just talking about like that threshold where age is all of a sudden like, I don't know if I want that publicized.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you've got quite the dynamic family. How do you kind of balance, everything that you have with your busy career?
Yeah. It's first of all, I feel very blessed that I get a chance to be a new father again, and influence and raise another child. And I think my older children will say that they probably didn't get the best me, and they're probably a little bit envious of their little brother. But I'm excited to take what I've learned and be intentional and purposeful in raising Riggs.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, these points along the path in life when you can stop and say, gosh, the version of me that was 20 years ago, or even 5 years ago for that matter, wouldn't dream that I'd be in the position that I'm in today. I'm sure you've experienced that multiple times.
Yeah, there's so much being written today about how 20-year-olds are not what 20-year-olds were in the past. I think we've forgotten when you're 20, it's really hard. You're trying to stay employed, you're trying to stay in a relationship, you're trying to figure out how to pay the bills, and then you throw kids on top of it. It's overwhelming. So it's a really tough time. I'm now blessed with an opportunity of not being in my 20s anymore, and having maybe appreciating the little things in life, and being a bit more present, and just being a better role model based on my experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. And how has your kind of evolving and dynamic family life shifted the way that you show up as a leader at work? Like what does an 8-month-old bring to your leadership style?
Patience, I would say, for sure. I'm trying to eradicate hurry from my life. I've got an 8-year-old as well, and she takes a little bit more time to get ready than than Riggs does. But I think I'm on a journey to eradicate hurry, because whenever I'm in a hurry, it's process over people.
Mm.
Communication style gets short, and the tone changes a little bit. So I think when I'm in a hurry, I'm not at my best. So I have to be prepared and intentional, and never in a hurry.
Yeah. It sounds like it's also maybe in that slowing down, in that intentionality, you find, a greater sense of your purpose. And that's really the topic for today is, leading with purpose. You've called yourself an intentional leader. And I just love that. We just recently spoke, and I said, how would you describe your leadership style? And you said intentional. And I think very few leaders would maybe, say that. And I'm curious, what does being intentional mean to you as a leader?
Yeah, I think it's being ensuring that I'm balanced between heart and head, and I'm balanced between thinking about me and thinking about others. I think I launched my career and rode a very selfish driven me approach to success, which I think, a lot of people need to do. And over time, I've had to focus more on others. Just kind of to go back, I remember being a teenager, a little bit overweight, a little bit lazy, and I was watching TV, and I watched a movie called One in a Million, and it was
Mm,
about Ron LaFleur. He was incarcerated, got out, and became the center fielder for the Detroit Tigers, and had
mm,
a pretty nice baseball career. How did he prepare himself while incarcerated? Push ups and sit ups. That's all he could do in his
mm,
cell. And I adopted that with running, and got in really good shape, and had developed a lot of endurance that helped me on the basketball court and the football field, gave me a lot of confidence and a lot of success. And as I transitioned from sport to work, that endurance carried over, and I
mm.
was able to outwork a lot of the challenges and create a lot of success. And you go fast if you go alone,
Yeah.
but you go far if you go with others. So I had to make
Yeah.
that transition from alone to others, from mind to heart leadership, and really shift my focus from me
Mm,
to others to ultimately accomplish what I wanted, which was to be my best and make sure that I don't come up short in what
yeah.
I can be.
I love that. Oh, I have so much to say. You talk about this, you start with intention. And what I'm hearing you say is that what's right behind that is this kind of connection or coherence between your head and your heart. I love the fact that we're talking about, the heart brain connection in the workplace today. It's starting to become more a part of our everyday languages. How do we lead more from the heart? Even us leaders that have years and years of experience and knowledge and credentials, it's often us leaders, right, that have all of the experience and the knowledge and the credentials, that at times find it difficult to tap into that heart space, that heart center that allows you to lead more authentically. I personally have been really getting into heart brain coherence more in my personal life, after I learned that your heart sends more signals to your brain than your brain sends to your heart.
Mm,
And it's a little mind bending because we like to think that this is the command central, that controlling this as it pertains to your mood, as it pertains to your mental health, is all that you need. But there's so many other parts of our system, the heart being one of them, that we can tap into that allows us to think and act more authentically, more heart centered. So I love that. I want to bounce in between a little bit of like the tactical and the theoretical. So I'll get a little tactical here. Here at Thoughtium, we call it the clouds in the dirt. We start with the clouds, kind of like, what's the vision? Your vision is to lead with intention and purpose. The dirt is like, okay, what does that mean? How do we get our hands dirty with this? I'm curious, one, like, how do you help, let's call it a new leader, better understand what their purpose is. Because I think oftentimes we work with folks who maybe haven't done that work. And is there a conversation, a process, a framework that you like to bring to help leaders more deeply connect with their purpose?
Yeah, I have a process that I've been very blessed with amazing mentors and role models over the
Love that.
years. And I've learned tremendously from a guy in Chicago named Frank Mallender, who introduced me to a mission statement. We've relabeled it why statement because that's post Simon Sinek,
Yeah.
more thoughtful and catchy. But I think this goes back to um, I have a wife who is just an amazing person. Everyone appreciates her. She's just the kindest person in the world. She has three brothers who are just like her.
Mm.
That feels like that's not random.
Mm.
So I would go out with my father-in-law and I'd take him golfing. He loved to golf. And I'd ask him this question: how do you raise such great kids? Because I'm having these kids and I want them to be good citizens. And he wouldn't really answer my question, wouldn't answer my question. I think he finally got sick of asking. And I asked this question 8 to 10 times. And I think he was thinking about what the right answer was because he didn't know because he was just doing it. And he
Yeah.
said, we took them with us wherever we went. And that's what I said. So then I kind of unpacked it in my mind. It's like, oh, constant role model. You're a constant role model. So as I talk to new leaders, first and foremost, you can't ask people to do what you don't do. You have to role model the behavior that you expect, and you probably need to define what that is for yourself. So, define the person you want to be, and then make little decisions each day to make that happen. Leverage the things you're really good at to make it easier for you, and then take people along the way. So first off, if we subscribe to that, we should all have a personal mission statement or personal why statement that says, this is who I'm becoming. And I do that by making little choices each day. And I'm going to leverage my strengths. So we'll take people through Strengths Finder so they know what their top 5 are so they can use them, not overuse them, because when you use your strengths, things come easier. You'll be happier. And then last but not least is build your empathy muscle so that you want to bring people along. We're social creatures, so the more we interact with people, the faster we're going to become our best selves. So taking people through those 3 workshops, helping them, decide if they want to commit to being a leader is how we approach it.
Yeah, I love that. We find having people step into almost that exercise of reduction or like process of elimination really helps them think about like what's most important. So oftentimes, when we do values exercises or even purpose exercises for that matter, we'll start with a huge list of like, 100 values, and we'll ask people to, in 15 minutes or less, get it down to 3.
Yeah.
You give a little bit of that like time constriction, a little bit of that like choice to very quickly converge, and it helps people really get almost very quickly to what's most important, and ultimately, that could help inform what your purpose is.
Yeah, with our why workshop, within 20 minutes, we're able to take somebody, and I say we because I owe a lot of the credit to Frank, we'll present them a list of verbs, say narrow it down to 10, then narrow it down to 3, give them a list of core values and a list of target audiences, and pick a core value, pick a target audience. And surprisingly, most people can do that exercise and feel really good after 20 minutes who they want to become, what's important to them.
Yeah. So, after we've, either helped those around us develop a more refined understanding of their purpose, or maybe, we work with folks that intrinsically are purpose driven. How do we bring purpose into more kind of day-to-day interactions? Is it something that you spend a little bit of time on in your one-on-ones? Is it the stuff that kind of happens between the lines? Maybe, the note at the end of a long week, or a provocative question at a performance review. Like, how do you ensure that purpose is at the center of your discussions with your people?
Yeah, I think the first step, and this has been the biggest challenge for me and something that very focused on right now, is moving away from a destination to a journey.
Mm.
If I only had this, I would be happy. If I only had this, everything would be better. To, this is what I have, so let's enjoy that journey. And that then allows me to focus on the individual. And then those affirmations, those one-on-ones where the only thing you talk about is what's on their mind personally, just naturally happen. But if you're focused on a number, and what I had to do what I'm trying to do is I equate my self-worth to my sales number. When you work for private equity-backed
Sure.
companies, that's what they want. That's what they expect. I hope they don't listen to this, but I've been trying to not evaluate my self-worth just based on sales results. I'm trying to evaluate it based on the role model and the contributions that I'm having with the people that I work with.
Yeah, I think that's really important. This idea of helping people understand that it's more about the journey and less about the destination, which to me means that we need to help people celebrate more kind of like steps along the journey. And for me, naturally that comes through storytelling and helping people kind of craft and tell the story that taps into like what intrinsically motivates them, why they're here. And it's not just hitting sales numbers, right? It could mean so many other things. I'm a storyteller at heart, so that's maybe the tool that I use particularly. I know, other folks might tap into, different aspects of communication, but for me, that's storytelling. And I think all great leaders are good storytellers.
Yeah, I think people are moved by stories. Why do we spend so much time on Netflix? Why do we get together with friends and family
Yeah.
and retell the same stories year after year? Why do I watch Christmas Story for the 25th consecutive year, the first weekend of December?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. Not to switch gears, but I will here for a moment. Tell us like what's new in the world of being a CRO for those out there that maybe aspire to sit at the C-suite. CRO, and depending on the type of firm, can play a myriad of different roles. But maybe like what's at the forefront of your position as CRO today that you would share with somebody who's really excited about potentially stepping into your role?
Yeah. Number one, what's not new is you still have to be really good at the basics.
Yeah.
That never goes away. And I think a lot of times people do not put enough focus on the basics. And as a result, they're unhappy with the results. Number two, marketing has a much bigger influence on revenue generation than sales does. So if you're not rebalancing your spend between sales and marketing and meeting the buyer where they are and taking friction out of the process, your cost of sales or client acquisition costs are going to be much higher and you're going to struggle. And third, you need to make data-driven decisions.
Mm.
So those would be the three things. That the basics are important. You have to spend on marketing because that's how people buy, and you have to use data to make decisions.
Where do you see your role evolving, or maybe not, in the next 3 to 5 years?
Where do I see my role evolving? I think we're still on the cusp of realizing what data can do. For example, a lot of organizations have said this is our ideal customer profile. Well, why can't we take that down to the individual buyer persona or the person in that role and score those and prioritize our time and energy against those who are most likely to buy. So I
Yep.
think this data opportunity is significant, and we've got to use AI to crunch the numbers faster and augment what we do. And let's just put our sellers in places where they can do what they love to do.
Yeah, I love that. I just the role of data in general, I think it's such a top. It's always been a top conversation. I don't think it's ever been as prominent and as real. And I think people are like looking for very practical understanding of what levels of the organization really need to own and understand data. And I think it's becoming very quickly evident that most levels of the organization need to understand and know the data. I mean, even in our small business, we over the course of the last several years have brought every level of Thoughtium into our forecasting, our pipeline, our bottom line, and all of the data that supports the type of work that we're doing, where our offerings are going, which offerings are hitting, which offerings are not. And I think maybe 5-10 years ago, that those types of dashboards and insights and conversations would only happen at a certain level. So I'm excited to see data become more of a common language, and that means more job security for folks like you, for sure.
As long as you put the systems in place that can
Yeah.
provide clean data, and you spend the time and energy to analyze it, and then
Yeah.
the hard part is still executing against it. And if you don't have the basic blocking and tackling down, I called it basics earlier, the data is not going to help you.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah. I
think
love
we shouldn't overcorrect and think AI or data is
it.
going to solve that. Salespeople still need to put in the time. They need to know what to target. They need to know what the message is, and they need to be able to effectively deliver the message.
Yeah.
That's what sales and marketing is: targeting,
Yeah.
messaging, and effective delivery of that.
Yeah. It's amazing how much has changed and how much really hasn't, the foundations, right? Why don't we end? We typically do a bit of a lightning round here at the end, Loren. So I want to just, pipe 4 or 5 questions at you that will, hopefully allow our community to get to know you a little bit better. And as well, start to distill what we talked about today in shorter bites. And I want to swing it back to kind of like the purpose realm. First question for you is, if you had, 1 or 2 very tactical, very specific pieces of advice for a leader who says, I want to be more purpose driven, or I want to bring more purpose out in my people, what would those 1 or 2 pieces of advice be?
The first one would be, you have to know who you want to be. You have to be
Yeah.
purposeful with your own life, your development, your career plan, and how you want to interact with them. And then number 2, you have to get to know them. You can't help them discover their purpose if you don't know what's important to them.
Love that. With all of the free time that you have, as a new father of an 8-month-old and CRO and all of the things that you're involved in, what are you reading, watching, listening to that really has you geeking out today?
Yeah, well, I love Adam Grant. He has his lightning round. I love Jay Shetty. I'm not trying to find a new relationship, so I typically skip through that, which is one of his 2
He's got a lot of that.
but but the rest of them I find very interesting. I just finished Let Them by Mel Robbins. I found some nice nuggets in there. What I'm reading right now is I guess the same book that AJ Brown is reading. So anyone who watched the NFL playoffs, there's a wide receiver for the Philadelphia
Yes.
Eagles reading a book on the sidelines. And I'm watching the game going, I'm like, oh my goodness. I told my wife, I go, I'm reading that same book. This is
Oh, you
interesting.
were reading it
Yeah.
prior to even him showing up on national television.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
And it's been out for a while, but I've
It
just
has.
found it to, it's a great read. Anyway, so I consume a lot of books. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I do that while I'm driving or working out. But I love to learn. I'm scared. I'm not I'm not scared of failure. I don't feel failure. I'm scared of not reaching my potential.
Yeah. Oh, I feel that. It's like stagnance or stagnancy. I don't know what the word is, but like being still incites a little bit of fear in me as well too. If you take away my ability to grow or to learn, I get really cautious, I would say. So I relate for sure. I'll put a plug in for the book that I was trying to reference earlier today. Is a book called The Hidden Power of the Heart, and it's by an author by the name of Kimberly Snyder. And she's the foremost expert in heart-brain coherence. And I invite anybody out there, whether you're leading people or you're just looking for more meaning in your life, to explore this idea that your heart is this kind of center of not just your biology, but potentially the center of your decision making as well too. And Kimberly Snyder, she's been on all the podcasts, is a wonderful place to start.
Thank you for
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Next question. If you tomorrow had to kind of completely pivot and you needed to start a small business within 10 days, where would you start and what would that small business be?
I would start a consulting business that helped individuals determine their why, number one, and I probably would also run a backup plan and help businesses accelerate their go-to-market strategy.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen a lot of fractional CROs and fractional C-suite leaders out there. I'm curious, like, have you had any exposure to that model? What are your thoughts? Because it's happening more and more, and I'm curious as to the impact that like a fractional role like that might have on different organizations. Do you have a hot take on that?
Yeah, I've certainly been on boards of companies that built their business model around that. I've
Yeah.
done some of that myself. I can absolutely see a need for it. It could be a bridge between for a company. It could be for an organization that can't afford full time. It could be a bridge between someone who's not quite ready to take that step. I think it's a wonderful investment. The key is you got to find the right person. They have to be committed to it. You can't have them parachute out because they get an opportunity. So it has to be someone who's wants to do that and believes in learning what's unique for your organization and putting the right systems in place versus simply just putting their playbook in place, because the same playbook doesn't work everywhere. The fundamentals do, but you need to tweak that playbook based on the maturation of the organization, their products, and the market.
Yep. Yeah, I appreciate that perspective. Last question, and this is one that we ask all of our guests. Interestingly, I think you've answered this over and over, but I want to give you one more chance to answer this. So we'll reframe it in an interesting way. Loren, I want you to think of one thing that you really admire about yourself. And then I want you to complete this sentence. If the world were a lot more like Loren, it would be blank.
Committed to getting better each day.
Oh, I love that. See, I thought maybe you were going to go intentional, seeing as that was maybe the theme at the beginning of this. But as I've kind of gotten to know you a little bit more in this conversation, I think you and I have some of the same DNA on this desire to continuously improve and grow. And I agree. I think if the world had more of a thirst for continuous improvement and growth, I think we'd all have a little bit more healthy common language. So
I thought you were going to say we have some similar DNA in hair growth.
That might be the case as well too. Yes, Loren. I was wondering if that was going to come up in this episode. The inevitable. Well, Loren, thank you so much for joining today's episode of Navigating Now. Your leadership shines in everyday conversations. I've had a few of those with you, and we're just glad to be able to put it on stage here today. And we so appreciate your practitionership. We appreciate your intentionality. And also, I just so appreciate you leading with purpose and helping others try to find theirs. So we wish you the best of luck in everything that you do, and we hope that you come back to the table soon.
Thank you, Anthony. Cheers.
Thanks, Loren. All right. We want to thank Loren for joining us today in today's episode 215 of the Thoughtium Navigating Now virtual roundtable series. We also want to thank you all, our guests, our community, our partners, our clients, our family and friends for joining. You can find this episode and all episodes at thoughttium.com/live. We go live every Thursday afternoon at 3 p.m. Central. And also, just a big thank you to everybody who's reached out and congratulated us on our new headquarters. I'll say that, as a small business, these small things are sometimes much bigger. And this was a huge milestone for us. And our doors are open if you're in the Chicagoland area and you want to come by, collaborate. Maybe you've got a big challenge or opportunity for your team or your organization, and you just need a third space to kind of sit and think bigger, think differently. That's what we are here for. So please reach out if you're interested in stopping by. And otherwise, we will see you all next week, Thursday at 3 o'clock. So long. Have a great rest of the week.